Okay, let us start our lesson with this experiment. I have these two cups. One is filled with water and one is empty. Which do you think is heavier? Which of them do you think is heavier? Sure, you will say the one that is filled with water. Why? Because there is matter inside of it. Here, there is air inside of it, but water is heavier than air. So let us start our lesson with this experiment. I have these two cups. One is filled with water and one is empty. Which do you think is heavier? Which of them do you think is heavier? Sure, you will say the one that is filled with water. Why? Because there is matter inside of it. Here, there is air inside of it, but water is heavier than air. So the mass is anything. Today's lesson is gravity. It is in page 194. Our lesson for today in page 194. Objectives for today: we will figure out the difference between mass, weight, and gravity. We will figure out what affects the gravity, and we will calculate the weight. The new words for you are mass, weight, gravity, and free fall. Objective number 1, figure out the difference between mass, weight, and gravity. Let us start with activity 10.4. Read it and I will show you now how is it made. The activity is asking us to bring different masses. In this activity, they bring one mass and as you can see, they put it on a balance. Now, this balance will give you the mass, how much matter inside this block of iron. And as you can see, when we write the mass, it should be written with its unit. The measuring unit is grams, so it's 160.9 grams. Now we will use the Newton meter. Remember, the Newton meter is used to calculate the force, the weight. Okay, the weight, it's a force. So as you can see, it will show 1.6 Newton. The measuring unit is Newton. So as you can see in the experiment, again, you have to write the mass in kilograms or grams and the weight in Newton. What is the difference? We will see now. Now, if we make the weight over mass, we said the weight is 160.9 and this is the mass, and the weight was 1.6. If we divide them over each other, what will be the answer? The answer will be 10. Always go back to the experiment and find out. It's 169 and the weight is 1.6 Newton. If you divide them over each other, the answer should be around 10. Okay, now what is 10? We will learn it together. We will answer A1 and A2. The weight over mass, always around 10. Another experiment, they are asking us in C, the same activity. They are asking us to bring two balls with different masses and let them fall at the same time. What do you notice? I want you to try it at home. You will notice that both of them, the heavy one and the light one, will fall at the same time. What do you notice about the time it takes the heavy mass and light mass to reach the ground? Do you have it in your PowerPoint? A2, they will fall at the same time. So we now want to know what is the difference between these three terms: weight, gravity, and mass. The force of gravity exerts on an object. Always, you will not fly in this space. Why? Because there's a force of gravity pulls you and pulls any object on Earth. What is this force called? This is called the weight. The force of gravity on an object, every object, these objects. Why they are not flying? Because they have a weight. The gravity are pulling them down. Okay? Amount of matter in an object is called the mass. Here, which of these has more matter? Which of them are heavier? The filled one, because there is more matter inside of it. Okay, so this is mass. How much mass? Like sometimes the fat person has more mass than the thin person because they have more fat, more matter inside their bodies. Okay, so the mass, how much matter in an object. The weight is the force of gravity on an object. Exerts, yani it pulls the object down. The pull force between two forces, any objects that have pulling force between both of them, this is called gravity force. Okay, for example, the earth is larger than you, and always you have pulling force. This is the earth and this is you. There are two objects. The earth is a bigger mass than you, and there's a gravity between both of you. You will pull each other. Is it the same? Will the bigger object will pull the smaller object? For sure. If I have a bigger magnet and a smaller magnet, the bigger magnet will pull more. Exactly like earth. It's a bigger object. It will pull you more. You don't pull the earth pulls you. What affects gravity? We said gravity is a pulling force between any two objects. Look here, I have 3 examples. I have 2 big balls and 2 small balls. Both of them have attraction between them. They have a gravitational force. They have attraction. Which of them do you think will pull each other more? The big balls will the red balls? For sure, it is the big balls. Always big objects pull each other more. So the first thing that affects gravity is the mass. Okay, طيب, let us now compare between number 2 and number 3. They have the same mass, but the difference between them is that they have different distances. Which of them will attract each other more, will pull each other in a bigger force? The small distance or bigger distance? For sure, smaller distance will attract each other more. Imagine that these are 2 magnets. Okay, if these 2 magnets are closer to each other, they will attract each other more. If they are further from each other, they will attract each other less. So the other thing that the gravity depends on is the distance, how far the object is. When a basketball is thrown into air, gravity pulls it to earth. Why doesn't earth moves toward the basketball? Why? Because the earth has bigger mass. You have the earth and the basketball. The earth has a bigger mass, so bigger masses will pull. Earth is much more massive than the ball. Yani it has bigger mass, so the ball moves towards the earth. You have the words weight, gravity, speed, mass. Closer, less, more. The further away from earth an object gets, yani when you are far away from the earth, you travel to the space, earth's gravity affects it what? When you go away from the earth, it affects it less, because you go away from the earth. Okay? Objects falling at the same rate, they have the same what? If they are falling, do they have the same mass or weight? We said if they are falling, so this is the force that affects the object, so they have the same weight. The Earth's gravity is pulling them down, not their masses. Okay, the force of gravity between 2 objects is affected by what? Affected by the mass. We said the gravity has 2 things that affects it, mass and distance. You don't have the word distance here, so it is mass. If 2 objects attract each other, the one with mass will attract the other one. Which one? The one with more mass. The earth, the bigger, it's more, not bigger. Okay, more, the same meaning. Deep in space, when you go out in space, Earth's force of what has less effect? away from the earth, what will be less? The gravity of earth. Whenever you go far away from earth in the space, the gravity of earth will not affect you, no longer affect you. That's why astronauts, when they go out in the space, they fly. Okay, objects that are have higher attraction. When they will have higher attraction, when they will attract each other more, when they are closer to each other. So you have another question here. What happens to your mass in the space? Here you are on the earth and on the moon. Your mass, remember the mass, the amount of matter in an object. If this glass went to the moon, do you think the water will be less or it will change? The same as you, your mass will change or not? It will stay the same. If you're asking about the mass, how much matter in an object, it will stay the same. What will change is your weight. Why weight? Because we said weight is the force of gravity on an object. When you are away from the earth's gravity will affect you less. So your weight will change, but your mass will stay the same. And also because the moon is smaller than the earth, it has a smaller mass, so it has a gravity, but the gravity force is less because it has smaller mass. Remember, what affects gravity? The mass. So the gravity of moon is less than the gravity on the earth. And you have a question here. This is a homework for you. Question 1 and 2, page 194. Please don't forget to answer these questions. In your book, there is a rule that you have to follow. Weight equals m, this is the mass, multiplied by g, the gravity force. And as we said before in this activity, that the gravity force is always, gravity force on Earth is 10 newtons per kilograms. And you can use this triangle to know how to calculate weight, mass, grams. Weight, W is for weight, and this is mass, and this is for gravity. Sometimes they are asking you to calculate the mass. So what is the mass? You just hide the mass, so the rule will be weight over gravity. Okay? From up to down, you divide. Left to right, you multiply. If they ask you how to calculate the weight... Question 3 in your book, page 200. Question 3 is asking, using gravity force is 10 Newton per kilograms, calculate A, the weight of an object with a mass 2 kilograms. Okay, so they give us the mass here. The mass, they told us it's 2 kilograms. Okay, and the gravity force, as they said, is 10 Newton per kilograms. Now, I'll go to this triangle. I don't know the weight. Okay, so I will hide the weight. So the rule is mass multiplied by gravity force. What will happen? That mass multiplied by gravity force, it's 2 kilograms. Don't forget the units, very important. Multiplied by 10 Newton per kilogram. This is how it's written for the gravity. So 10 multiplied by 2 will be 20 Newton. B, the mass of the object, which weighs 3,000. So they give us the weight. I have to calculate the mass. Go to the triangle. The triangle says that I have to hide the mass because the mass is unknown. So the rule will be W, weight over gravity. So the weight is 3,000 newtons. Again, don't forget the units. And the gravity force is 10 Newton per kilograms. So it will be 300-ish. بما إنه mass, so the unit will be kilograms. Here, weight, it should be in Newton. Don't forget, this is not correct, okay? So it's only N. Now we will talk about Galileo experiment. Galileo is a scientist. He made an experiment in the 16th century, and he dropped objects of different masses from the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. He found that both landed at the same time.
My experiment prove I'm a very clever guy.
Why is that? It's because of something called free fall. Free fall. The speeding up downwards motion of a body due to its weight. Yani, at the beginning, when he started to throw the balls, they were a little bit slow, and then they become faster and faster, and both of them will gain the same speed as they go downwards. This is called free fall. Okay, miss, that was our lesson for today. Please do the homework. You have it in the PowerPoint. Don't forget to send it to Class Dojo. The submission day is due on Sunday. You have to submit the homework next Sunday. Thank you.